Εις το όνομα του Πατρός και του Υιού και του Αγίου Πνεύματος. Αμήν. Please be seated. Καλημέρα σας. Good morning. All great achievements begin with one step. Begin with a thought, a feeling, an emotion. Everything that we do in life takes work, takes dedication. And no matter the task, how great or how small, it all starts with something. There is a genesis, a beginning. Something that begins maybe here or maybe here. And with enough work, with enough time, with enough energy, this thing which you can't see, which you can't hold, you can't smell or taste or touch, becomes something. Whether you're running a marathon or climbing Mount Everest, there has to be a beginning. There has to be that urge, that desire, that passion to do something. And no matter how far-fetched, to get to the moon, to climb to the top of the mountain, to achieve your hopes and your dreams, you have to find that beginning point, the origination. Where does that come from? And so whether you're an athlete, training, or a student, studying, or a professional, achieving, and working, and working, and working, if you don't know what that driving force is, the purpose, then we will forever spin our wheels, chasing things that don't really matter. Now in today's story, the great achievement, this amazing miracle, was someone raised from the dead. Jesus is walking with his disciples and a great crowd, it said, to his city. And there, leaving the city, was a funeral procession where they were carrying a bier, B-I-E-R, a funeral bier, which was an ancient device that would be carried on the arms and the shoulders of the funeral processors, sort of like a plank, like with handles. And the body would lay on this funeral bier, and they would process it and walk through town. And Jesus comes upon this funeral procession. And it said that the one who died was the only son of a mother. Now for you mothers, you know how much you love your sons and your daughters. But when they're the only, there's something special about that child, right? That you treasure this child more than anything. Not only did this woman lose her only son, it says she was a widow. She had lost her husband. And so we can only imagine the pain, the loss, the sadness that this woman must have been feeling. And so as she's walking, a whole great crowd of the city was walking with her. And I'm sure there was crying and moaning and weeping and wailing, as happens sometimes in funerals. And it says one word that changed everything. that was the genesis, that was the beginning of something great, the raising from the dead. It said Jesus had compassion. Esplachnisti. He reached into his own soul and felt pain, and felt her loss, and felt her agony of losing her son and losing her husband. And from that genesis, that beginning, that feeling of compassion and love, he says, arise. With one word, one feeling turns into one word, turns into raising from the dead. And so what this tells us, the power of compassion, the power to feel another's suffering, another's pain, to take on their pain as your own pain, to shoulder that burden of loss and tragedy and sadness. And so any accomplishment that we are trying to achieve, any great deed that we are working towards, if the beginning of that great endeavor is not love, compassion, excitement, then perhaps we're motivated by jealousy, by fear, by anger, by hatred, by greed. You see, many things can motivate us. And so we have to take an honest inventory. What is driving me? What is pushing me to get up in the morning, to go to school, to go to work? Is it that I care? That I love? That I hope? That I dream? And if that answer is no, then you got to find it. You got to look and search and find that compassion in your heart for another human being, because I guarantee there's a lot of suffering out there. There is a lot of loss and sadness and pain and frustration. And we can be that light, my brothers and sisters. We can be Christ, showing compassion on a world that needs it more than ever. And when that compassion is in our heart, as I've said before, it changes you. And it changes the world. And so let us dig and search and look for that warmth, that zeal, that love, to feel not only for each other or the planet, but for ourselves. If you can't be compassionate in here and in here, how can you show compassion out there? May God grant us the wisdom, that love and that zeal to be a light into the world and to be motivated, firstly, by hope and by compassion. Amen.